Before you finish this video, your understanding of God may completely change. There is a presence you have felt, but never understood. A voice you ignored, yet it kept guiding you. What if the reason you feel lost is not because God is silent, but because you have not learned how to listen? And what if today marks the moment everything begins to shift inside you? Right now. Right after that moment, when you started to wonder if God has been silent in your life. Let me show you something that may quietly shake everything you thought you knew. Because when Jesus prepared to leave this world, he did not leave people with confusion. He made a promise so powerful that most believers hear it, but few truly experience it. He said the Father would send another helper. Not temporary. Not distant. But a presence that would stay with you, and even live inside you. Imagine that for a second. Not visiting you once in a while. Not showing up only when life falls apart. But staying. Consistently. Patiently. Even when you forget him, like forgetting where you left your phone, and then panicking for no reason. Yes. It is that close. That constant. And somehow, we still miss it. The Spirit of Truth was not sent to confuse you. He was sent to guide you. To whisper direction when life gets noisy. To nudge you when something feels off. To comfort you when nothing makes sense. And here is the part most people overlook. You may have been waiting for a sign, while the guidance has already been there all along. Quietly. Gently. Faithfully. And now, here is the uncomfortable truth that most people do not want to admit. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that we have trained ourselves to ignore what is quiet. Because we live in a world that rewards noise, fast answers, instant reactions, and constant distraction. So when the Holy Spirit speaks in a gentle and steady way, it feels almost too simple to be real. You expect something dramatic, something loud, maybe even something that shakes the ground under your feet. But instead, you get a small nudge, a quiet thought, a subtle sense that you should pause, or move, or reconsider, and you brush it off like it was nothing. Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you felt that inner hesitation before making a wrong decision? And you still went ahead anyway. And later you said, I knew it. That was not just your intuition having a good day. That was guidance. But we ignore it because it does not come with fireworks. And sometimes because following it requires change. And change is uncomfortable. We like control more than we like surrender. We say we want direction. But we also want to understand everything before we move. And that is where the disconnect begins. Because the Spirit leads. He does not force. He invites. He does not shout over your thoughts. He waits for your attention. And if your mind is always full, always rushing, always jumping from one worry to another, then his voice becomes background noise. Not because it is weak, but because you are overwhelmed. Imagine trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a crowded market. It is not that the whisper disappeared. It is that the environment makes it hard to notice. And many believers live exactly like that. Every single day. Spiritually surrounded by noise. Emotionally overloaded. Mentally exhausted. And then they wonder why they feel lost. Here is a simple, but powerful shift. What if you are not lost at all? What if you have just been too distracted to recognize the direction already given? Because the truth is, the Holy Spirit has been consistent. Even when you have not. He has been speaking. Even when you were not listening. And this is where things become both challenging and hopeful. Challenging. Because it means you cannot blame silence anymore. Hopeful. Because it means you can change this. Starting today. You do not need to become a different person overnight. You just need to become a more attentive one. Slow down. Notice the patterns. Pay attention to that inner check, that sense of peace or discomfort, because that is often how guidance begins. Not with a shout, but with a whisper that waits for you to take it seriously. So if you begin to slow down and actually notice that quiet guidance, something very interesting starts to happen in your daily life. Not all at once, not in a dramatic movie scene, but in small, consistent shifts that slowly change everything. You start making decisions with a sense of calm instead of pressure. You pause before reacting. You feel that gentle nudge telling you, this is not the way, or this is the right moment. And surprisingly, it often saves you from unnecessary stress, like sending that message you almost regretted, or walking into a situation that never felt right in the first place. And yes, sometimes it even saves you from awkward moments that would have made you replay the scene in your head all night. But beyond the small wins, there is something deeper happening. You begin to understand things you did not understand before. Not because you suddenly became smarter overnight, but because you are being guided into truth, step by step. The Holy Spirit does not just help you avoid mistakes. He helps you see life differently. He aligns your thoughts. He softens your reactions. He brings clarity where there used to be confusion. And here is where many people get it wrong. They think being led means life becomes perfect. No problems. No challenges. Everything's smooth and predictable. But that is not the promise. The promise is guidance through everything, not the removal of everything. Think about it this way. It is like having someone who knows the entire map walking with you. You may still walk through difficult roads, but you are no longer guessing your way forward. You are no longer making blind turns, hoping for the best. And that changes how you carry yourself. There is a quiet confidence that begins to grow. Not loud, not arrogant, but steady. Because you know you are not alone in your decisions anymore. And over time, this becomes something you rely on more and more. You start asking before acting. You start listening before deciding. And slowly, that relationship becomes natural. Not forced. Not complicated. Just consistent. Like learning to recognize a familiar voice in a crowded room. At first, it feels uncertain. You second guess. You wonder if it is really him. But the more you pay attention, the clearer it becomes. And one day, you realize something powerful. The guidance was never far away. You were just learning how to walk with it. And as you begin to recognize that guidance more clearly, you slowly realize something that feels almost surprising. This was never meant to be complicated. In fact, the relationship you have been searching for with the Holy Spirit is not distant, not reserved for a select few, not hidden behind some spiritual level you have to unlock. It is already close. Closer than most people are comfortable admitting, because it requires something simple, but challenging: awareness. You start to notice that He is not just guiding big life decisions. He is present in small, everyday moments. When you feel that pause before speaking, when you sense peace about a choice that logically makes no sense, when you feel uneasy, even though everything looks perfect on the outside. And sometimes, you ignore it. And sometimes, you follow it. And yes, sometimes you follow it halfway, and then panic, and go back to your old habits, like checking your phone 5 times, just to feel in control again. We all do that. But here is the beauty of it. He does not disappear. Just because you hesitated. He stays. Patiently. Consistently. Like a true partner. Who understands you are still learning. And that word, partner, matters more than you think. Because this is not about control. It is about cooperation. He will not force you into the right decision. He will not override your will. He will guide. He will nudge. He will remind. But the final step is always yours. And that is where real growth happens. Not when everything is easy, but when you choose to trust, even when you do not fully understand. And over time, something shifts inside you. You stop seeing guidance as pressure, and start seeing it as support. You stop feeling like you have to figure everything out alone, and instead, you begin to lean into that quiet companionship. And let me be honest with you for a second. Life becomes lighter. Not because problems disappear, but because you are no longer carrying them by yourself. And that changes everything. In ways that are hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. So after everything you are beginning to see and experience, here is the shift that changes the way you look at your entire life. Living led by the Spirit is not some rare spiritual achievement. It is actually the normal life you were created to live. And yet, for so many people, it feels distant, complicated, almost unrealistic. Not because it truly is, but because we have spent so long relying on our own understanding that anything different feels unfamiliar. You wake up and immediately start planning, thinking, worrying, calculating every possible outcome, like you are the CEO of your own universe. And to be fair, you try your best. But deep down, there is still that sense of uncertainty, that quiet question asking, if there is a better way to live, than constantly figuring everything out on your own. And the answer is yes, there is. And it has been available to you the entire time. Living Spirit-led does not mean you stop thinking. It means you stop carrying everything alone. It means you invite guidance into your decisions, your reactions, your priorities, even the small things you used to overlook. And over time, this creates a rhythm. You begin to pause before rushing. You begin to listen before reacting. You begin to trust, even when the full picture is not clear. And yes, sometimes you will still get it wrong. Sometimes you will miss the signal. Sometimes you will go back to old patterns and laugh at yourself later, thinking, why did I not listen? But that is part of the journey. Growth is not perfection. It is consistency. And the more you practice this way of living, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, you realize something powerful. You are no longer just trying to survive each day. You are being guided through it. And that quiet shift changes everything. And now, you arrive at a moment that feels small on the surface, but carries the weight of a real turning point. Because understanding all of this is one thing. Choosing to respond is something completely different. Many people listen, feel inspired, even agree deeply, and then go right back to old patterns before the day even ends. Not because they are unwilling, but because habits are comfortable and change feels uncertain. So let me make this simple and real for you. This is not about becoming perfect overnight. This is about making one honest decision to stop drifting through your day and start responding to that quiet guidance you have been noticing. It may look very simple. Pausing before you react, listening before you speak, choosing peace when your mind wants to rush into worry, And yes, sometimes it will feel almost too simple, like you are missing something important. But that is exactly where most people get stuck. They overcomplicate what was meant to be lived naturally. And here is a little truth that might make you smile. You do not need a dramatic spiritual moment to begin. You do not need a perfect environment. You do not even need to have everything figured out. You just need to start paying attention and responding in real time. Think of it like learning to follow directions from a trusted friend. At first, you hesitate. You double-check. You wonder if you heard correctly. But the more you follow, the clearer it becomes. And slowly, confidence replaces confusion. So today is not just another day where you think about change. This is the moment you begin to live it. Not loudly, not perfectly, but intentionally. One decision at a time. And as you begin to actually live this out, instead of just thinking about it, something quietly powerful starts to reveal itself. You look back and realize you were never truly without guidance. Not even in the moments you felt completely lost. Because if you pay close attention, you will start connecting the dots. Those times you avoided something without knowing why. Those moments you felt peace, even when nothing made sense. Those strange inner checks that tried to slow you down, but you brushed them off like an annoying notification. Yes, those moments. They were not random. They were guidance. You did not recognize at the time. And now, instead of feeling regret, you can actually smile a little and think, well, that explains a lot. Because growth is not about blaming yourself for what you missed. It is about finally seeing what has been there all along. And here is the encouraging part. The same guidance that was present then is still present now. Nothing has been taken away. Nothing has been lost. You are simply becoming more aware, more responsive, more aligned. And that changes how you move forward. You stop second-guessing every step. You stop feeling like you are alone, trying to figure everything out. And instead, you begin to trust that even when things are not perfectly clear, you are still being led. And honestly, that kind of quiet confidence is something most people spend their whole lives searching for, without realizing it has been within reach the entire time. And now, as everything begins to come together, this is where your story quietly shifts into something new. Not because your life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you are no longer walking through it alone, or guessing your way forward. You are choosing to walk with guidance, real guidance, present, steady, and personal. And the most powerful part is this. It begins with a simple decision you make right now, to trust that voice you have started to recognize, to follow, even when it feels unfamiliar, to pause when you sense hesitation, and move when you feel peace. You do not need to have every answer today. You just need to stay connected, because the same presence that has been gently guiding you all along will continue to lead you, step by step. And yes, there will still be moments where you doubt, moments where you overthink, and almost go back to old patterns. But now, you are aware, and awareness changes everything. You catch yourself sooner, you realign faster, and you move forward with a confidence that is quiet, but unshakable. So as you go into your day, from this moment on, remember this. You are not alone. You are not without direction. And you are not guessing anymore. You are being led. And that changes everything.